Okay, welcome back. In today's episode, it's a little bit different. I got a Coleco Frogger mini arcade, and the seller told me that it's not working, so I'm going to be taking a look at this. So the unit is in rough shape, especially the bottom here. They just took a piece of black plastic and they taped it with electric tape, and it left a lot of residue and marks. So I'll probably be tossing the plastic piece in the garbage. And I'm looking at the terminals here. They're not in the worst shape, but they're not in the best shape either. So I think I'm going to have to overhaul this whole unit. But before that, I want to test and see if I get anything out of this. So I have my power supply here, and since this unit uses 4 C batteries, they're usually 1.5 volts each. So I'm going to set the voltage to 6 and see if I can get this unit to fire up with my bench power supply. So as soon as I touch the positive terminal, the startup's music starts. So I know that this unit is getting something. Hopefully the LCD isn't cracked and I can get this thing to fire up. So I am getting something on the screen, but it is a bit dodgy. So it could be from me shaking and missing the contact point, or slipping from the contact point on the terminal, or it could even be from dirty terminal here. So I'm going to clean them up and see if I can get this to be a little bit more reliable. So yeah, it's a bit dodgy, but I keep slipping from the contact, so I can't really blame the unit for that. But it seems to be working. So on to the rest of this restoration. Let's see if the controls work. So here I'm checking to see what the amperage draw of this unit is, and it's roughly 0.3 amps. So when I mod this to use an AC adapter, I want to find an AC adapter that's roughly 6 volts and about 0.3 amps or 0.5 amps, something in that range. Since I know that this unit is already working, now it's just cleaning up the exterior plastic. And since I am going to mod this with an AC adapter, I do have to disassemble it so I can mount the port, the power jack port, and I have to find the spot to mount it. Now on the inside here, there's plenty of space, which is fortunate for me. And now that I'm going to remove all these screws, I have a hunch somebody already opened this up, because I suspect some of these screws are in the wrong spot. So later on in this restoration, I'm going to reassemble this in the fashion that I think these screws went in. But keep in mind, I actually never seen the inside of one of these units, so I could have been wrong, and perhaps this unit was never opened and that's how it came from factory. But I'm going to set aside all these plastics to clean them, and I'm going to disassemble all this. Now this unit is older than I am, so this is quite fascinating. I've never actually seen something like this. This is the speaker, and to amplify the sound they just used a small piece of thin plastic, and it really does amplify the sound. I'll be showing that later on in this video. So once again, with my power supply, I'm going to just use some alligator clips to wire this thing up just temporarily to see if the game truly does function. And here you can see how the speaker functions. Now I didn't modify that sound bite there, so that piece of plastic does amplify quite a bit. So the controls and the game is functioning properly. I'm not the greatest Frogger player here. I'm just more excited to get through this restoration. So here's the bottom shell. I gotta remove these battery terminals here because they're a little bit rusty, a little bit corroded. So I'm gonna remove them with a pair of pliers, bend the tabs up so I can slip them out. And then I'm gonna let them sit in some white vinegar for about a week. And I didn't choose a week. It just happened to be that way. I had set them in the vinegar, and then I had other projects to work on, and then when I came back, it was over a week later. So the terminals in the back of the unit are a little bit harder to access with the pliers. So I'm going to use this pick here and just pry up the pins a bit, then I can use the pliers to finish them off. So my original plan was to let the terminal soak for about a day or two. Well, a day or two turned into a week. So with everything removed, I'm gonna clean up this exterior shell. So to not waste too much time, here's a jump cut. I've already cleaned this off camera with some soap and water, and it did clean up nice. Now it's still wet, so it still has to dry, but I'm happy how this turned out. So the previous owner, I assume, tried to disassemble this and didn't realize there was a screw under this sticker here, and they cracked this brace here. So I'm gonna try to glue this together and rebond that brake. So one of my subscribers recommended me Tamiya glue. Now this is a glue from Japan, and it's great for ABS plastic. Now what it does, it actually doesn't work like super glue, but rather on ABS plastic it actually fuses the plastic back together. I suspect that it has some sort of acetone like property, or it might even just be acetone. Here I made a mistake. I used 99% alcohol to clean up this front sticker, and then what I thought was dirt coming up was actually color from the sticker. Now luckily I noticed what I was doing before it got too bad, and you could barely notice any difference, so I'm fortunate enough that no damage was done. So it's been about a week, and this vinegar is now like bronze. So yeah, the rust did come off these terminals, but unfortunately these terminals did get brittle and the springs actually deteriorated. So now I have to find a solution to repair these springs. Since the springs were already rusty, the vinegar just deteriorated the rust, which was the last thing holding them together. So I'll just replace them and they'll be good as new. So I got these two springs off an old cable box TV remote, and I'll be using these to replace the old ones. So the coil is a bit wide on the bottom of the spring, so I'm gonna just try to adjust it a bit so I can fit it under the groove here of this battery terminal. So to hold the spring in place, there's a bridge that goes from one side to the other, and it actually wedges the coil in place. You just have to press down here in the middle of it, and the spring shouldn't fall out. So of course I'll do the same thing for the other coil. Just curl it to position, and it should fit just like the other one. So after I replace the springs, this is what these terminals look like. So the terminal with the 90-degree bend is giving me problems trying to reinsert it. So I'm just going to clip the 90-degree excess off and it should slip right in. So next I'll slip the terminals back into the bottom half of the plastic shell. So I got this plug in my parts bin. I don't remember where it came from, but this is ideal for what I need. Now I gotta find a spot to mount this, and it seems in this back corner is the perfect spot. So it seems like it'll end up in this corner here, so I could actually mark it from the outside. I'm using an X-Acto knife here just to scratch up the ABS plastic, and then I can just file away the hole. So to be able to file this down, I'm going to use my soldering iron and just melt the pilot hole, and then little by little I'll just file away with a hand file I have and use trial and error just to not overdo it, and then I'll be back when I'm done. So after about 10 minutes of filing, I'm really impressed how this thing turned out. So my file kit actually has different shaped files, so this is how I achieved the 90-degree angle and the round top for this hole. It actually fits really well. I actually almost don't need any glue. So I got this AC adapter. This is the one I'm going to be using. Now it does say 3 volts on the output and 800 milliamps, but when I measure it, it does give me 5 volts. So I suspect it to be fine. Now I'm taking note of the polarity here. It says the negative is the outside of the plug and the positive is the inside of the plug. So when I wire up this plug here, this jack, I want to make sure that the jack, the middle pin corresponds with the positive and the outside pin corresponds with the negative. So when I'm wiring up this jack, I got this thicker gauge wire, and I'm going to put the red on the positive and then black on the negative, just so I don't confuse myself when I go to solder it to the battery terminals. So since this is ABS cement, this should be ideal for this plastic, and hopefully I can bond the AC adapter jack to the back of this case here. So here's one thing that I shouldn't have done. I shouldn't have circled this port with this glue, because this really made a mess in the end. So if I had to do this all over, I wouldn't have done this. So I'm just going to clean this up off camera as best I can, and later on in this video I'll show you the end result. So here I got to route this wire in a place that doesn't obstruct anything, and I think this is perfect. I can wire it right under all this next to these posts, and then I'm going to solder the positive with the positive and the negative with the negative. So I know that the positive is red, negative is black. It makes it so much easier. So here's how the port turned out. Now I really wish I didn't use all that extra glue around that jack. Well, it's a lesson learned for next time. So now I'm almost done with this project. All I gotta do is reassemble everything and test everything out. So here's the positive and negative from the game board. I just wire this up and then I can test it to see if my AC adapter is working. So now for the moment of truth, I'm gonna see if it's working. And yeah, it fired right up. It's always satisfying to get something to work right off the first try. So yeah, I'm gonna play with it a little bit here, see if it's working, if everything's functioning, the controls are working, and it seems like it's okay. So I dimmed down the light a bit here. It's not completely dark, but it's a little bit dimmer. And just so you can see the screen a little bit better. The screen is actually really bright. It's really nice in person. It's actually looks better in person than on camera. These old Coleco machines were actually really cool. And yeah, I'm going to test to see if the batteries work as well. Obviously, you wouldn't want to plug up an AC adapter. And of course, it's working too. So, time to finish up this project. Okay, for these stickers that are coming off, I'm just going to use some of this multi-purpose glue here. It's for arts and crafts and other things. And I'm hoping that this glue holds. I'm not going to peel the whole sticker off. I'm just going to try to re-glue it back together and hope it holds. So here I'm going to use some 99% alcohol to clean up any excess glue or any glue that may be actually on the surface of the sticker. So finally I'll add the top part with the marquee and I'm done. So here's the finished product. It's clean, all the stickers are reattached, and I think it came out really well. The only part I couldn't do anything about is this top corner here. The sticker was already destroyed from the previous owner, so I'm just going to leave it as is. Now here's the power jack. Now I overlooked one thing. I did put the jack a little bit too high, so now the green shroud here obstructs the plug a bit, but it still goes in. It's not the end of the world. Just keep that in mind. I should have used either a different plug or lowered the port a bit. So one last time I'll show the unit in action. I lowered the lights in the room a bit so you can see this better. Now it seems like the screen is pulsating a bit, and with the naked eye you don't actually see that. It's just on the camera. So I guess I'm done with this project. Now this one was a little bit different than what I usually put on this channel, but let me know in the comment section down below what kind of videos do you want to see, more stuff like this or more of the traditional stuff that I've already done on the channel. But I really enjoyed this project, so until next time, please like, comment, and subscribe, and once again, thank you for watching.